we're looking forward to the challenge.
And get into a championship opportunity, and then, who knows what happens there. The best team will win that evening.
Get to state.
And hopefully get to the Dome.
Just trying to get back to the Dome.
Ready to hopefully win a state championship.
Mindset is to get to the Dome, win it all.
Just have to play our hearts out.
Definitely win state. Our dream is to get into that Dome and win that ring.
And welcome to Varsity Sports Now. Jay Elson joined, as always, by Jason and Dara. And Jason, we are talking semifinal football in North and South Dakota.
Yeah, in the two states we cover, there are 22 semifinal matchups. We're going to try to talk about every single game here in the next 22 minutes of our show. A lot to get at.
Yeah, we don't have much time, so we better get
Let's
started,
go.
don't you think?
Let's go.
In South Dakota, Class 11 AAA, first of two semifinal matchups, the 2-3, a rematch of the opening week of the season. Brandon Valley, though, this time goes to Roosevelt.
Yeah, the first time they played, the game was shortened because of lightning, actually, but Roosevelt totally dominated the game with a 30-0 win. They've been a lot different since that first game. Jake Como, the junior quarterback, has grown up a lot. In fact, that's what to watch for in this game is the junior quarterback. Jake Como last week against the Golden Eagles, 21 for 29, 272 yards, 3 touchdowns. That's typical of what he's been become throughout this season. On the other hand, you got Taryn Christian for the first time throwing over 300 yards as a Roosevelt Rough Rider. He has really evolved in his passing game. We all know he can run the ball, but it's going to be fun to watch these two junior quarterbacks go at it on Saturday, or Friday, actually.
He's becoming one of the most dynamic athletes in the state of South Dakota, certainly. The other semifinal at 11 AAA, O'Gorman at Lincoln. And the Knights coming up dinged up as usual in this one. That's really one of the themes for this game as well.
Yeah, they made that decision to play up a class, and you need a lot of depth in AAA. They have not been able to come up with that depth. Injuries all season long, right from the get-go when they lost Tanner Schulte in the first week of the season. Since then, Ian Donnellan's been in a cast. Jaden Holzer's been banged up. They've had a lot of injuries, and last week, their top rusher, Matt White, came out of the game because of concussion-like symptoms. They're going to have to deal with that. On the other hand, you've got Lincoln has to deal with some injuries as well. They pulled their starting quarterback, Connor Birchall, because of a bruised knee. He is going to play on Friday night, but that's a little bit of a trouble to spell. And then you've got their top defensive lineman, Reed West, has had a great year. Dislocated his elbow, is probably out for this game, and is doubtful, questionable, I guess, probably to come back if they make it into a championship scenario type. So the first time these two teams played, Lincoln dominated. I still think they're head and shoulders above O'Gorman, but both teams have to deal with a little medical attention.
All right, let's move into AA now, and it's an ESD showdown, the 2-3 matchup here. Yankton goes to Watertown for the second time this season.
Yeah, the first time they played, Watertown got up early with a Shea Bratlin touchdown, 7-0 at halftime. Yankton came back with 17 unanswered points. That was a weird game. It was a wet game, a lot of stuff happened, but what to watch for in this game is the star power should come out. Shea Bratlin, probably the best running back in this class, going against J.J. Hanna, maybe the best player in this class on both sides of the ball. Great defensive player, and he can come down with a lot of catches.
And the other contest, Harrisburg makes the trip to the capital city to take on Pierre, the 8-1 Governor.
You might think with the top scoring team in this class, that's what Pierre is, that it would be about offense, but this game is about defense. You've got Shannon Poppinga, who's done a great job as the defensive coordinator for his brother, Jason Poppinga. He's going to try to shut down Harrisburg. Might be a little easier task than the other way around. Harrisburg has done a great job on defense as well. They've come a long way since the beginning of the year. One of the top defenses. In fact, these are the two top defenses in AA. Tough task, though, to stop a team like Alex Gray and Austin Christopherson. They've been running the ball terrific lately, and they have to go on the road. It's going to be a tough matchup, but defense is what to watch.
All right, well, stay tuned. We are just getting started. When we come back, we're going to preview the rest of South Dakota's semifinal contests.
Varsity Sports Now, presented by Shields.
And welcome back to Varsity Sports Now. Let's take a look at some of these other semifinal matchups in South Dakota in Class 11A now, Jason. Del Rapids, the defending state champs, have to earn it this year. They've got to travel to Madison for this contest.
3-time defending state champs. They've made it to the Dome 4 of the last 5 seasons. You know, when you talk 11A, you're talking about the team to beat. Del Rapids, over the last few years, it's been all about the Couriers. This year, Madison put them on notice right out of the blocks. Won 39-12 earlier in the season. They are now the team to beat, and if they can shut down Riley Schmidt, that's the only X factor, I think, for the Couriers. They'll be the team to beat, and they're going to go on to the Dome and really be the favorites once they get to that point.
I think Del Rapids is playing some of its better football right now, but Madison has proven really, really powerful. And the only thing that concerns me going into that match is the fact that they haven't really been tested since, middle part of the season.
The thing people don't realize about Madison is how physical they are, and I think that will get them through the little mini slump that they might have had without that competition.
All right, the other semifinal, West Central at 8-2 has to travel out to Hot Springs, who comes into this one at 9-1.
Yeah, we don't hear a lot about Hot Springs, but this is a team on a 9-game winning streak. They lost their first game of the year to St. Thomas More, 35-15. Since then, they've been on fire. They've got a guy named Jared Harkless who's a playmaker, and Jake Oberpriller has been a great running back as well. In the quarterfinal action, he went for 147 yards and 2 touchdowns. But West Central, they're back to the old West Central.
Yeah.
They got shut out 23-0 by Canton. Since then, they have been absolutely on fire, torching T twice, taking out teams like Del Rapids. I would be scared to play the Trojans right now. They've got a 3-headed monster in the backfield that has just run teams over.
Yeah, they had some injury issues in the middle part of that season. Once they got over those, they got right back to form real quick. All right, let's move into Class 11B now. Canton, one of the hottest teams, no question, maybe in any class of high school football in South Dakota right now. They beat Aberdeen Roncalli, and what does that earn them? A trip to Winter to face the defending champs.
Yeah, we had a chance to talk to Rich Lundstrom after their big win against Roncalli. Here's what he had to say about a star quarterback.
He's been a little quieter this year. I think teams have been keen on him, and that's really opened it up for the other guys. And he hasn't been selfish. He's done what we've asked him to do, but tonight was his night.
Cody Majors had a huge night for Canton. 5 touchdowns, including a 100-yard interception return. He's going to be tough to beat, but their defense is just as good as this electric offense that they have.
Yeah, you still have to consider Winter as well, though. I mean, longest winning streak in the state at 22 games. This is a team that's flown under the radar, despite the fact that they've been as successful as they have. Undefeated again coming into this point. They struggled a bit with Tri-Valley on Monday night, but still found a way to get it done, got a chance to move on into the semis. That's going to be a really fun one to watch. The other 11B semi, Parkston travels to Rapid City to take on St. Thomas More.
Parkston has the best defense in the class. They got to go up against St. Thomas More, a team that has really had to evolve after Newt Johnson got hurt after the second game of the season. They found some Riley Scher's been running the ball for them. Matthew Eastmo's been throwing the ball for them. They're doing okay, but the schedules are a little different. We'll talk more about this one in the picks.
Yeah, all right. Let's take a look quickly at the 9-man previews here, Jason. 9AA through 9B. Talk about some of these matchups.
Well, you got Bridgewater, Emory, Ethan. Right now, they are really were the number 1 team at the end of the year in 9AA, but they got to go against the number 1 seed in Gregory, and Kurt Braun has taken this team over. A great matchup there. Then Dubrook and Arlington. This is a rematch of a game earlier in the year. Dubrook is really the team to beat in my eyes in 9AA. A great matchup of 2 guys that have run the ball, Luke Weber and Riley Hansen's gone over 2,000 yards already. In 9A football, you've got Wolsey Wessington against Loyola Frederick. Loyola Frederick is a team on defense that's been outstanding over the last 6 weeks, have given up just a handful of points. And then Potter County going into Howard. I think Howard is the best team in this class, hands down. They've showed it over the last 2 weeks. And in 9B, Harding County. This is a team that likes to pass. And when you get into the semifinal action, always the coldest weekend of the year, sometimes it's hard for teams to keep passing, but they have to visit Hamlin, a team that just got out of their quarterfinal matchup against Hitchcock-Tulare. And then the last matchup, a battle of unbeatens. You've got Wall with the most accurate quarterback in the class going against Avon, a team that has looked like the old Avon team. They're rolling over teams. A great battle. Not enough time to talk about all these guys, but we'll write something up on the internet.
Go to the blog. Lots more information on all these semifinal matchups from the state of South Dakota. Jason's blog at midcosn.com. All right, we've set the stage for the semifinals in South Dakota, and when we come back, we're going to start to do the same in North Dakota. That's next on Varsity Sports Now.
Varsity Sports Now, presented by Shields.
And welcome back to Varsity Sports Now. All right, Jason, we've looked at South Dakota. Now it's time to do the same for the semifinals in North Dakota. Let's start in Class AAA. And Minot at Fargo South is one of the two semifinals.
What to watch for in this? You've got a great offense in Fargo South. The Bruins have been rolling up yards, second most points in all of the class. James Johannesson, 2,122 yards, 24 touchdowns, and the most impressive part of that is 10.6 yards per carry.
Yeah.
Good luck containing him, but if a team can contain him, it might be Minot and their defense, the top defense in all of AAA. We're going to talk about this one more in the pick segment, a very close matchup.
Well, the Magi are a team that a lot of people, when UNESCO went down early in the season, wrote them off. I mean, frankly, we might have
Ben
at different
Belinsky
points.
has been a star in coming in as a sophomore quarterback to stabilize this team. Give him a lot of credit.
Yeah, certainly. The other two opponents in the semifinals, somewhat familiar with each other.
Yeah.
They played a time or two, and it's Century at Bismarck. This game changed a bit just based on an injury situation.
Yeah, the quarterfinal game changed a bit. Century was dominating Davies early in the game, actually through a few quarters, and Dalton Feeney went out with a wrist injury. It doesn't look good for him. He's going to have surgery I think he had surgery on Tuesday. It's going to be a tough situation to replace him at quarterback. They tried to with Chris Kraft. We did talk to Coach Wingenbach a little bit after the Davies game about how they're going to adjust with a new quarterback.
Yeah, we had to adjust a little bit after Dalton went down, and Chris Kraft, he's our backup, hasn't seen a lot of time, so consequently there was some errors on the offensive line with just some snaps and so on. But we'll have a week now to prepare and get him ready.
We really came together in the end because we knew how to make plays, and we got a backup quarterback that that came in. Chris did a good job, and I just thought overall it was a team effort. There was some individual plays, but I just thought that we played pretty well as a team.
All right, Jason, Bismarck took a 26-7 decision. The first time these two teams meet, it was very windy, cold, terrible conditions. But bottom line, that was with Feeney. And so now coming into a situation without him doesn't look real good for the Patriots. But
yeah,
stranger things
you
have
could
happened,
make
obviously.
an argument that Century could play with Bismarck fully healthy without their starting quarterback who's done so well. It's going to be tough because Bismarck really controls the line of scrimmage in a game like this. So, yeah, it's not going to be quite as good of a game as it could have been.
They're going to need their defense certainly to step up and try and keep the Demons
You're right, you never know.
out of the end zone. That's going to be one way to stay in this at least to the end. All right, North Dakota AA now, a rematch in Class 2A from the first week of the regular season. Remember that good one? That one was in Bismarck between St. Mary's and Shanley. Flip them. This time St. Mary's has to go to Shanley.
Yeah, St. Mary, the best defense statistically in the class, and they're going to need every ounce of that defense to stop what Shanley has done. They're on fire. Trey Fort, another weapon, last week went for 3 touchdowns in under 3 minutes. So add that to a mix of already electric players that they have with Chase Montplaisir. And we talk about big game experience. I mean, Shanley has been to the title game over and over. They're used to this. St. Mary just won their first playoff game since 1996 last week. All those factored in, St. Mary can play with them, but they're going to need some big plays from their offense.
And they're going to need that defense to do what they did the first time that they took on the Deacons. All right, the other semifinal, East number 2, Wahpeton, 9-1, travels to Bishop Ryan, who it was a little uneven early with Kindred. They had a little bit more of a battle than I think they might have expected, but they pulled away in the end, kind of showed why they were the number 1 team for much of the season.
Kindred is a good team. Give them some credit. They hung in there with Ryan for a while, but Ryan showed in the end, not only offensively they're the top team in the conference or in the class, but defensively they're the best too. But this game, we feature the top 2 scoring offenses. Wahpeton has been throwing the ball up and down the field with Jack Christensen, and they have a great weapon with Brock Lingen, over 200 yards in his quarterfinal game. So electric offenses, both run that spread offense. This will be a fun game to watch.
Yeah, they're going to be chucking it just a tad, don't you think?
It depends on the weather. The semifinal games, you never know.
Yeah, you never know. That's true. All right, stay tuned. More semifinal previews to come from North Dakota, Class 8 and 9-man coming up next.
Varsity Sports Now, presented by Shields.
All right, welcome back to Varsity Sports Now. Let's take a look at the rest of the semifinal contests in North Dakota. In Class A, Lytton HMB 8-2 goes to Milner North Sargent, also 8-2, on Saturday at 2 o'clock. These two teams did meet back in September, at the end of the month, and Milner North Sargent scored a 20-14 win over Lytton HMB.
That's got to give you confidence knowing you can beat the team. But Linton hasn't lost since that game. They've pulled off 5 victories in a row. This team reminds me a lot of the one 2 years ago, who was a 2-loss team, came through, went all the way to the Dakota Bowl. This should be a great matchup. Milner North Sargent has some stars. Austin Martinson, 728 yards rushing, and Britton Bussman, he can pass. He's passed for over 700 yards. Should be a fun game with a lot of good athletes.
Lytton coming off that tough win over Oaks, the second hard-fought win over them. Maybe that prepares them a little bit more for this game, and the fact that they know they've been competitive with Milner North Sargent before. That'll be a good one. Hazen, the defending champs, goes to Delax Burlington. A couple of undefeated teams here.
Yeah, this Delax Burlington, the Lakers team, keeps coming up big on defense, and they keep getting better on defense. Tanner Holt, 8 sacks on the year. He's had number of tackles for losses. They've created turnovers over the last few weeks. They pulled out a tough one against Velva, so they're battle-tested. They're ready for Hazen, but Hazen is the defending champs. They've got all their weapons back. Briar Borneman hasn't played the full season. He's been playing over the last few weeks. He's been electric, and Nate Lyons has come in and been a great duo, so they can't just focus on Borneman.
Okay, have they seen a team like Hazen in Delax? I mean, you talk about that defense being so good. Hazen brings a whole new dimension of power.
The Lakers have surprised me a little bit. They've improved to a level where I think they can play a competitive game with the Bison, but I think the Bison are obviously the favorites.
Okay, let's move into 9-man now. West Hope, Newburgh, Glenburn at Shiloh Christian, who is really on a roll right now.
You got to talk about the word explosive when you talk about the Skyhawks. Blake Emmel, last game, 227 yards. They've got A.J. Dale, Zach Martin's throwing the ball. This team is in total rhythm. They have not been used to playing this far into the playoffs, though, and West Hope, Newburgh, Glenburg has been, and they might have the best player in this class. Last year, the Sioux made it all the way in Class A to the title game. They've moved down into Class 9, or 9-man football this year, and they've got Hunter Broughton. This guy is over 1,000 yards rushing, over 1,000 yards passing. You don't find many athletes like that.
The winner of that one will play the winner of the Napoleon Gackel Streeter Cavalier semifinal.
Well, you talk about great athletes. The best one in 9-man football might be Trent Fettig. 5 touchdowns last week for NGS. They do have one loss this year earlier to Lemoore, and you got to talk about Cavalier. I mean, when you talk about the best offensive team in the class and the best defensive team in the class, it's a monster to go up against. It's going to be tough for anybody to beat the Tornadoes.
All right, well, that is the look at the semifinal picture of both North and South Dakota. A lot of great matchups coming up this weekend, but some are better than others, and we're going to try our hand at picking the winners. Playoff pick'em coming up next.
Varsity Sports Now, presented by Shields.
And welcome back to Varsity Sports Now. Time for playoff pick'em. And Jason, I don't know if you've kept tabs. Well, actually, I know you've kept tabs, which is why I'm asking you if you've kept tabs. But these scores are getting a little ridiculous.
It's deceiving, though, because we just take these couple games.
Yeah.
And you have to do well in those games, and you have. I got to give you some credit.
You've done well.
You've done well, Jay.
That's good news. I can bring in a nice, comfortable lead into this week. And don't forget, you can play along with us as well. Go to Jason's blog at MidcoSN.com and click on Pick'em and make your selections. So maybe some good stuff's up for grabs if you beat the Mr. Jason and Dare. All right, let's get started here. Starting in North Dakota Class AA, a rematch of a game we saw earlier this season. St. Mary, this time, though, has to travel to Shanley.
Yeah, St. Mary won that first game of the year, got a lot of momentum. They lead the class in scoring against with only 10.3 points per game, but Shanley is on a tear right now. They have won 9 in a row. They have won their last 6 games each by 20 points or more. They're going to be too tough. Even if the weather's a factor, I think Shanley wins this game.
I agree. I like Shanley in this one as well. They're definitely playing some very good football. I remember at the midpoint in the season where you pinpoint, I can't remember the exact game, it looks to me like Shanley has found their stride, and certainly since then,
Central Cass is one of
they
those
have
games,
looked like the team everybody expected them to be coming into the season with all the returners that they had. I agree, Shanley wins this game. Class AAA now, Minot at Fargo South is the most interesting matchup of the weekend. Minot is a team that you've been back and forth on all year.
I've been wrong. Let's just say it.
You have been
I've
wrong several times, and they've proven you wrong. South has been a bit confusing maybe a little over the last month.
Well, Fargo South played their most complete game of the year last week against Jamestown. They showed just how good they can be. They're the second best offense in the class, going against undisputably the top defense right now. The Minot Magicians have been playing tremendous. So this will be a great matchup of offense versus defense. I like the home team here. I like James Johannesson. The guy's over 2,000 yards rushing. I think Minot hasn't seen it back quite like him. South wins it in a close one.
I disagree. I like Minot in this one. I think they have seen a back like Johannesson because they've played Galindo.
Yeah,
and
but
Bismarck,
they're
who's a pretty good.
They're a little different.
Well, they're different, but he's a pretty good running back too.
Yeah, they're
You've seen
very
him pile
good.
up some good numbers
They're
as well.
very-
Not
yeah.
Johannesson type numbers, mind you, but I'm tired of picking against the Magi.
Yeah.
I'm going to pick with them this time, and so we differ on that one. All right, moving to South Dakota. Class 11 AA, an ESD matchup here. Yankton goes to Watertown for the second time this year.
I watched them the first time, and Yankton just out-muscled them on the front line. A lot of people talk about the Stars. We talked about the Stars earlier in the show, but it's the line up front that gets the job done. Yankton beat them that first time. I think Watertown's going to fix some of that, and Watertown comes back, gets a home win. It's going to be a close one once again, but I think the Arrows get the home field advantage.
Yeah, J.J. Hanna and company won the first one. I like Bratlin and the Arrows to get this one as well. I agree that Watertown comes back. I think they're playing a bit better right now than they were at that point in the season. But we both agree Watertown gets this game, moves into the Dakota Dome for the 11 AA championship. In Class 11B now, interesting matchup here as Parkston goes West River to take on St. Thomas More.
Home field advantage is going to be great for St. Thomas More. It's going to make it a lot closer than maybe it could be. Parkston has the best defense. They're going to be able to shut down Matt Eastmo and company. I think Parkston gets the win here.
I think Parkston's played a very tough schedule, too. I think they're battle-tested. So I agree. I like them in this situation. All right, quickly now, upset specials for the week.
I hate to pick against Shiloh Christian because this is a team on a roll, but West Hope, Newburgh, Glenburn. This is a team that has gotten to the Dakota Bowl last year. I think they get there again with a tough road win.
All right, I'm going to go back to South Dakota, and I'm going to stick with the same team that got me an upset special last week.
Yeah.
I like Canton again. Just coming off that win over Aberdeen Roncalli, impressive.
They're not going to surprise
34-13
anybody
win.
with this upset win, though.
Well, you know what? An upset's
They're
an upset,
still
Jason.
lower
They're the
seeded.
5 seed.
They are the lower
taking
seed.
on the 1 seed defending champion
Technicalities.
Winter.
Okay.
Winter had all they could handle from Tri-Valley, a team
Right.
that had a very up and down regular season in the quarterfinals on Monday.
I'm just giving you a hard time.
18-16. So I like Canton for the second week in a row to pull my upset special. What do you think about that?
I think I agree with you.
All right. Well, that's going to do it for us for this week. I think we'll see you back here next week for another episode of Varsity Sports Now.